fundamental shift within the deaf community about the labels and terminologies used to describe a deaf person. In the past, medically based terminologies were acceptable, for example, hearing impaired. It was once accepted by the deaf community until it was realized that impaired implies damaged or incapable. The constant use of impaired tends to foster misconceptions about deaf persons. Most deaf persons would rather be identified with deaf culture and as having their own language, values, and beliefs. As deaf persons grow to become valued members of the community, they use positive terminologies such as deaf or hard of hearing. We figured that if we want to experience smooth communication access among all, first, we need to tackle the media's constant incorrect use of terminologies. Words can be powerful, so we should not tackle misconceptions through anger. We should tackle them by teaching everyone the appropriate terminologies, which will later influence a positive image of the deaf community. However, before we jump to take actions, we need to make sure that the critical partners, such as teachers of the deaf, NGOs, and the deaf/disabled community and the deaf schools are on the same page, before we can influence the media and the wider society about these terminologies.
At this time, I will share with you the new meaning of the deaf terminologies. The first one, deaf. It refers to persons who have hearing loss and identify with the deaf community and use sign language predominantly. The second one, deaf, with a common D. A term used to talk about deafness in general. It also means persons who have hearing loss and who may not identify with the deaf community nor know sign language. The third one, hard of hearing. It means persons with slight or moderate hearing loss who may or may not be a part of the deaf community nor know sign language. The fourth one, hearing impaired. That's a medical term used to identify a deaf person, which is no longer acceptable. I just finished sharing with you the positive terminologies to use. Now I'll be sharing with you the negative terminologies that are not to be used. First, dumb or dummy. Labeling a deaf person as dumb or dummy is very offensive. It is not appropriate. Second, deaf-mute. Almost all deaf persons have normal vocal apparatus which they are able to use. Third, handicapped. That's an outdated word that we no longer use today. Instead we use disability. Remember, some deaf persons do not accept being referred to as disabled. While some do accept it, others don't. It's important we find out from the deaf person what is acceptable and then use it. If you are going to write about a deaf person, find out what's their preference and respect their choice. Important notice. Persons from the deaf community live the same way as other persons in the Jamaican society. The only difference is, deaf persons use sign language and may not hear. We aim for a society where all will experience a positive interaction by using the appropriate terminologies and getting along like family. A deaf person can choose to use any of the terminologies, and that should be respected. Some will choose to use deaf, hard of hearing, or hearing impaired. When you are referring to a cultural deaf person, use capital D. When you are speaking of deafness in general, use common D. Also remember that hearing impaired is a medical word. We do not call a person a hearing impaired person, but when we are talking about a diagnosis, we can use it.